Hello, and welcome to Archetype Builds. This is the channel where we take a paragon, an exemplar, a archetype of a particular trope in fantasy or fiction, and we show you how to build it in your Dungeons & Dragons character. This week we're taking a look at a archetype that is a lot more common in children's fiction than it is in our high fantasy, and that is the archetype of the Disney princess.
I know a lot about overcoming doubt. So many things they told me that I couldn't do. I went and proved them wrong, so now I'll pass along these simple words I hope get through to you. It doesn't matter what they say, there's only one voice to obey, and it's that little voice inside. So let that be your guide, then you can save the day. 'Cause you are stronger than you know, stronger than you know.
A beautiful, inspiring, and charismatic leader, the Disney princess is a force of influence with people around her. When she asks for help, people listen and their hearts are changed. When she sings, the crowds join in and movements occur. I think that first and foremost, the Disney princess is this idea of a charismatic, beloved character. But there is also often this association with nature. Often there are animal companions involved, talking animals, helping out with the Disney princess's adventure. And oftentimes these stories also involve a reconnection with nature or a connection to the wilderness. So we're going to try and thread both of those concepts into this build. So when we're choosing our ability scores for this character, obviously charisma is going to be king. We want to have that high performance, high persuasion, but even intimidation and deception I think are appropriate for a character that has been raised in the politics of the court. So charisma as high as you can get it. Next, we are going to need to maintain a decent wisdom score. That's because we do have druid levels coming up. We have a bunch of druid levels coming up. We aren't going to be using anything that is especially reliant on wisdom, but that 13 is a must-have for this build, so do what you need to do to get there. And then obviously, constitution, whatever you have to spare, let's put it in constitution. As far as the race for this character goes, I think there's a lot of mechanical and story benefits to choosing half-elf. Elves are already seen as this kind of like otherworldly, beautiful race of beings. I think that fits well with what we have planned for this character. And they're also considered related to nature or have strong ties to nature. So that's going to fit into our druid transition very, very well as well. I think maybe it could be fun if the princess is the daughter of like a human king and an elven noble lady, or vice versa. You figure out what works for you, but I'm going to take the half-elf. And what class could serve as a better starting point for this royal, artistic, singing princess than the Bard? The Bard is this fantastic class. It is a full spellcaster class, which means you're going to get access to cantrips, spells, the whole works. But the spells are not arcane and derived from tomes and glyphs or, gods. It's this artistic expression. It's the magic of music and the force of your art. Particularly, I feel like this is a bard that is going to be singing, a classic Disney princess thing to do. When there is danger afoot, when there's some sort of battle, we sing to bolster our allies or to distract our opponents. And this is going to be the main way that we operate. For our equipment, I think we have the opportunity to have a little bit of fun here. Most adventurers or other archetypes are going to start out with some standard adventuring equipment. They're going to be well prepared for a variety of survival situations. I think it would be a lot of fun here to invest heavily with our gold buy into like the finer things, buying nice clothes, jewelry, a little tiara, whatever you can find in the player's handbook that is sort of a valuable treasure, and then showing up sort of unprepared, but being able to trade those finer items, sell them off to vendors for gold, and acquire the things that you need that way. I think it would just be great to show up adorned with the valuables initially. The noble background does help with this a lot, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I think for my money, if I was creating this character, I would go all in on expensive treasures to start with, and then transition that out. The noble background is actually going to start you off with some gold. It's only 25 more gold pieces, which is pretty small in the grand scheme of things, but it is going to start you out in those fine clothes with some of that jewelry that we just mentioned. So maybe talk to your DM, see if maybe there are some more funds in the old royal treasury that your family is coming from. But otherwise, I think the noble background gives us a great start to this. For our starting proficiencies, we're going to be flush with lots of proficiencies for our skills. That's because from our nobles background, we're going to get the history and persuasion proficiency, and then Bard gives you 3 additional ones of your choice, which is a lot. So choose what you think is appropriate. I think performance obviously is going to be a significant one here. And then you decide whether your princess is a little bit predisposed to nature. Maybe they've got nature proficiency or survival proficiency. Maybe they are a little bit more into the political intrigue of the court, so they've got their deception, their intimidation, or even a sleight of hand. Pick what you think is appropriate to your specific version of princess. So at first level, we're going to get some cantrips. I think that a bard staple that works perfectly for this princess of the court right at first level is vicious mockery. With vicious mockery, you can throw out some posh-sounding insult like, "This bandit has the manners of a troll," and deal psychic damage to your opponent. So yeah, incredible stuff, literally hurting their feelings to death. Also recommend minor illusion. This is very useful in cases where you want things to appear differently than they are. Comes up in all sorts of situations, very handy. For your first level bard spells, let's go with something like command. I think it's very appropriate for a Disney princess to have her commands carry magical authority. We're also going to want something healing related to be a support class, so maybe Healing Word is a very strong first level healing spell. And then I think a control spell would be good. Tasha's Hideous Laughter is very fun. You can tell a funny joke and people will collapse laughing and not be able to stand up. And then let's round out that package with something like Fairy Fire to light up all of our enemies and give all of our allies advantage. So here at level 1, we are a bard, singing and casting spells through the power of our song and our words. We've got lots of starting proficiencies and are decked out in fine clothes and jewelry, setting off on an adventure away from the castle. That takes us to level 2. We're going to continue on the Bard path here to kind of flesh out this side of the character. Bard 2, we are going to get Song of Rest, which is nice, and then you're also going to get another spell selection. The one I'm going to recommend here is Animal Friendship. This essentially helps you to charm an animal that you meet, and this is the start of our connection to nature. We are charismatic not just with people, but as we discover, animals out in the wilderness as well. Level 3 is going to be very exciting. This is where we are choosing our Bard subclass, our Bardic College, and we are going to be going with the College of Glamour. The College of Glamour is for those bards whose power comes from performance and from beauty, and I think that that is perfect for our Disney princess. Here's what we read. The bards of this college are regarded with a mixture of awe and fear. Their performances are the stuff of legend. These bards are so eloquent that a speech or a song from one of them can cause captors to release the bard unharmed and lull a furious dragon into complacency. The same magic that allows them to quell beasts can also bend minds. How perfect is this? Not only is this a subclass that is dedicated to, the beauty of our song and of our appearance, but also there's that line, the same magic that allows them to quell beasts, as if they already knew that we were taking this subclass in a nature angle pretty soon. Right at level 3, these bards are going to get 2 features. First of all, the Mantle of Inspiration. Mantle of Inspiration is going to allow you to expend a bardic die and choose a number of creatures equal to your charisma modifier. and give them temporary hit points, and they can use their reaction to move their movement speed. Very tactical and very fun. We also read that, like, specifically the flavor here is you grant yourself a wondrous appearance that is inspiring to everyone around you. Very, very perfect for a Disney princess. Then you're also going to get enthralling performance, and this one is super, super fun for, I think, specifically this fantasy of the Disney princess who gets captured and then who wins over her captors. And in addition, at level 3, if that wasn't enough, we are going to get expertise, which means you can double your proficiency bonus for your chosen skill, maybe performance. And then we're also going to get our second level spells here at Bard 3. While it's tempting to take more support options here, we are going to get a lot of that with Druid, as well as a lot of damage. So I think what we want to do here is choose spells that impact our enemies and force them to make a saving throw, because we're going to keep our charisma high. So lockdown spells like a hold person to freeze someone in place. Maybe you're shouting halt, and they lock up. Suggestion, maybe to give your kind of words this extra magic suggestive power. Or, and this is my personal favorite, calm emotions. I think we're building a character that, at least at this level, is very conflict adverse and is looking to prevent conflict by winning the enemies over to their side. Calm emotions is this great way of taking that heat and those tensions and simmering it down so that people are able to put down their weapons and talk things through, which I think is very flavorful for a Disney print. It's also around this level that I think, if you haven't already, we do want to start transitioning those fine items, that jewelry, into more standard adventuring gear. You may have noticed, if conflict has broken out, that your armor class is very low, your health probably isn't super high as a bard, so you're in danger of dying, in danger of losing concentration on these wonderful spells that you're casting. So it's definitely, if you haven't already, start selling off those jewelry. Here at level 3, I think we've been out adventuring long enough to know better. And so I'm, on my character sheet, I'm going to have some of those fine things swapped out. Maybe if it's important to you to continue to be able to pass as a noble, you want to hold on to those items and then continue to adventure so that you earn more money, so that you can create more practical items for your inventory. Here at level 4, we have the option to take an ability score increase or a feat. I am going to take a feat here, and here's why. I'm assuming that we use the point buy system to get a 15 in our charisma, boosted +2 by the half-elf race, which means we're sitting on a 17 charisma. That only adds a +3 to our charisma-related skills and spells, which is so close to a +4 because we're missing that even number. So I'm going to take a half feat that's going to give us 1 ability score point and then some side benefits. And the half feat that I'm going to choose is Fey Touched. I think by this point in time, we kind of laid the groundwork with that animal friendship right earlier on, and indicated that we were going to be taking this character in more of a nature-focused direction. Well, in D&D, nature isn't just kind of the stuff in between civilized areas. It also has this spiritual connection to another plane of existence called the Fey Wilds. It's kind of wild magic place. And I think now we have been, so kind and so charismatic towards the animals of the forest that the forest has started to take notice, and something powerful is reaching out. Fey Touched is going to give us a couple of benefits that I think transition us really well from Bard into Druid. So if you want to flavor this as like your first steps into Druid, I think that's perfect. If you want to flavor it just as, Bard 4, as you're starting to appreciate the musical performance of nature, I think that works as well. The Fey Touched feat is going to automatically give us Misty Step, which is a little teleportation spell. Always good to have a little teleportation in the mix, very helpful for a lot of situations. And then we're also going to get to choose another spell of our own preference. And so I'm going to recommend Beast Bond. Beast Bond takes an animal that we have already charmed, perhaps with animal friendship, and it turns it into a real familiar for us. So we can control its actions. It will fight for us. It can scout for us. It can do things on our behalf. And so this is how we're going to get that trusty animal companion, right? So we're going to choose an animal. We're going to animal friendship, and then we are going to beast bond. So level 5, I'm going to recommend we take our first level in Druid. This is why we held on to that wisdom score, is to make sure that we have the option to multiclass Druid. You can't do that unless your wisdom is at least a 13. Since we are Druid 1, we're going to get our cantrips and first level spells from the Druid class. For cantrips, I'm going to recommend Guidance to help out allies on their skill checks, Resistance, potentially to guard them against dangers, and if you have won the popularity of the people, and you have maybe a couple of NPCs following along with your adventuring party, you might want to look into Magic Stone to arm them with these magic pebbles that do damage that overcomes magic resistance. For our first level spells, try to avoid anything that is going to scale off of your Wisdom modifier. Wisdom sitting at a 13, I have no intention of increasing that, which means anything that requires a spell save DC, out. Anything that makes a spell attack or melee spell attack roll, out. Anything that is going to add our Wisdom modifier, we want to make sure that that's a trade-off worth having. So for instance, something like Cure Wounds is nice. It'll restore a little bit of health when we touch someone with Cure Wounds. But Good Berry doesn't require our Wisdom modifier to be high at all, and each berry is going to heal for 1 HP, so 10 HP. That's better than Cure Wounds. And then you can also choose something like a detection spell, so maybe detect poison and disease, or even detect magic, right? Because that's not going to scale off of our Wisdom modifier at all. It's Druid level 2, and you know what that means? It means we get our Druid subclass, our Circle, and we are going to go with the Circle of the Shepherd. Here's what we read about them. The Druids of the Circle of the Shepherd commune with the spirits of nature, especially the spirits of beasts and fae, and call to those spirits for aid. These Druids recognize that all living things play a role in the natural world, yet they focus on protecting animals and fae creatures that have difficulty defending themselves. Doesn't that just sound like a Disney princess? And we are already fae touched, so we've got this beautiful connection into the Shepherd. And the main benefit we're getting out of this is, of course, their level 2 ability, Spirit Totem. And Spirit Totem is going to give us an option of 3 different animal spirits to summon. We can obviously reflavor these however we want. So for instance, the first one, Bear, we could say it's a bear, or we could say it's a turtle, or we could say it's the spirit of the captain of the guard at the palace where we grew up. But regardless, we get 3 spirits to choose from. And the bear spirit is going to grant you and your allies advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, plus some temporary hit points, which is really great. The hawk totem is going to consume our reaction, but it's going to give an ally advantage on an attack in combat. And then, of course, our choice, the unicorn. That's right, our Disney princess now summons unicorn power. The Unicorn Totem is going to allow us to cast a healing spell on an ally, and then the Unicorn Totem throws out some healing to everyone in its aura. The healing is going to be equal to our Druid level, which isn't much, so what we want to do is cram as many of our allies into that aura as possible. This is going to mean that we're a very effective sort of late combat healer. Obviously, if people aren't damaged, they can't be healed, and so this Unicorn Totem won't make as much of a difference for them. But I think we could potentially open with Bear and then switch to our Unicorn Spirit if we want to blow both of our uses in the same combat. We are going to be getting some additional benefits which make these totems even better very soon. Of course, that isn't the only benefit that Circle of the Shepherd grants us. We also get Speech of the Woods, which means that in addition to being able to read, write, and speak Sylvan, we can also speak to animals. We can just converse with them, talk to them. They can tell us how their day is going. We can sing songs to them. And this is just going to really complete the image of the Disney princess with her animal companions As we proceed to Druid level 3, the main thing that we're going to get is second level spells for the Druid spell list. Here, one of the ones that I'm going to recommend is Summon Beast. This is going to give you like a real statted out battle companion, rather than kind of whatever animal that has been kind of like following you around that you've been casting Beast Bond on repeatedly. So this is going to be like some ferocious tiger, or maybe even something that swims or something that flies. I think those are the three options: is ground, air, or water. Two spells that I think would be really fun and thematic to pick up here. First of all, Beast Sense allows us to see through the eyes and hear through the ears of a beast that we cast this on. It would be so fun to like cast this on a squirrel and see squirrel vision into an enemy camp or into a cave that we're exploring. And we can also pick up Animal Messenger. This allows you to tell a message to an animal, and that animal will go off into the world and relay it to someone that you have met previously. Not incredibly powerful, but super fun.
Seek out the other animals in the woods and tell them to spread the word. The king is missing. If we can get all the creatures in the forest searching for my dad, I know we'll find him.
Good thinking, so let's do it.
Character level 8, Druid level 4, we're going to have the option to take another feat or ability score increase. And I think for this, we are just going to cap our charisma. Even though we are deep into Druid levels now, the important spells that have spell save DCs or scale off of our spellcasting modifier are still on the Bard spell list. We've done that by design, so the higher the charisma, the better. Alright, here we are at character level 9, and this is where things start to get a little crazy. Conjure Animals is a 3rd level spell that lets us choose the strength of the creature we want to summon, and it tells us how many of that creature we can create. So for instance, we can make, 1 CR2, 2 CR1s, 4 CR1.5, all the way down to just a whole bunch of CR1/8 minions.
All because I sing.
As fun as it would be to summon an army of birds and squirrels, I think that the best option here would be summoning 4 CR1/4 creatures. The reason for that, obviously, too many creatures is both hard to manage, and also they're very likely to die in a single hit, which is not what you want. And if you have too few of them, then the benefits from your totems aren't magnified by enough. So it's right in that sweet spot. So which creatures are we going to summon? Well, within the CR1/4 tier, there are a lot of really good options. I think a very popular one is Elk, but I couldn't help but notice that we have the opportunity here to fit another stereotype of the Disney princess. I don't know how founded this stereotype is. I don't think there's very many examples of it, but I think you'll agree that there is an association between this sort of strong female figure and horses. Specifically, we can summon 4 CR1/4 war horses to appear on the battlefield. The war horse is this kind of sturdier type of horse compared to like the draft horse or the riding horse. It's got great statistics for what we want. They've got high mobility. Your Mantle of Majesty, if you choose to select these horses, they're going to get a lot of distance out of that. And then they've got this special thing where if they move a certain amount on their turn, they can try and knock someone over when they attack them, and if they succeed, they get an extra hoof attack. By the wording of the ability, and your DM may disagree with me, it seems like if anyone manages to knock them over prior to the horse's turn, they get an extra hoof attack on them, which is great. So that means that all of these guys are going to synergize with one another. They're going to synergize with your existing abilities, and they're stocky enough that they're probably going to survive the first round of damage, which means you can heal them with your unicorn totem. But there are, as many of them as we can get. So it's this great blend where you are using the power of your unicorn totem to boost up these warhorses who are kind of charging back and then towards the enemy each turn, attempting to knock them prone, giving your allies advantage, and getting lots of attacks on them. That's going to take us all the way to level 10. Here at level 10, we are getting the Druid feature Mighty Summoner. This is to get our horses with a little bit of additional hit points when you summon them, make them more likely to survive, and then get healed later. And then it's also going to make damage from any creature that we summon magical. So our beast that we're summoning in battle, magical. Our horses that we summon, magical damage. It's very important to have this on your build so that you can overcome resistance and immunity to non-magical, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage. It is going to come up, and so I think this really completes the package. So, I don't know. I feel like a glamorous princess who is charming and charismatic, who summons an army of horses into battle empowered by the spirit of a unicorn, is pretty much exactly what you'd want from a Disney princess. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and if you want to play this build at your table, the easiest and fastest way to do that is to subscribe to my Patreon. I've got character sheets pre-loaded for levels 1, 3, and 10 of this build, and any tier of patron has access to them. So for just $1, you could break into those character sheets, but I would greatly appreciate it if you stay subscribed to continue to get character sheet access for the next builds that I do.